just what a guy needs.
Welcome back to the Lost Cause Ranch. It is the end of October, and in Iowa, that means winter is coming. And we need to get ready for that.
It is a good thing that I have my British junk
To tow my Italian junk around. But no, like I mentioned before, I'm trying to get everything cleaned up
before winter comes, and this is one of the projects that needs to go away. I mean, it was never a project. I have started partying it out. I need to finish partying it out. But to do that, we need to get it in the shop and in the air. There's a pretty good possibility that this goes awry.
There's no one driving the Maserati.
In case you were wondering, yes,
The strap is under the hood.
all right, riddle me this. I had a block of wood under the rear tire to act as the parking brake. I went ahead and kicked it with the wheel cranked, so it was gonna roll back up to the hill, and I was gonna stop it, and we'd then roll it into the shop. But said block of wood decided to pick itself up and frickin' wedge itself against the control arm.
What are the chances of that? Perfect. This thing, much heavier than I thought.
Usually once I get vehicles to this point, I can just kind of push them
Right into the shop. But instead we got this little conglomeration going on from the Maserati, tied into the hoist, snatch block, all the way back to the Eco.
This thing rolls like a stuck pig, so we're gonna try something. We need to get over the lip going into the shop. Even though we all know I'm a pretty strong guy, I can't quite muster it. So I think my plan is jack the thing up. We're gonna slide the block of wood under just past halfway on the backside. That way when we let it down, it's going to push the car forward some. We only need to move a couple inches. In theory, it should work. And again. One more time, I think we'll do it. There we go. At least we got that done.
So I swear my life isn't always a disaster like this. Just like 95% of the time. But this is what happens when you're parting a car out without enough room to spread your parts. But we'll get this all sorted out, and we're just about ready to drop the engine out of the Maserati. And that engine right there is the sole reason why we even bought the car. That is a Ferrari-derived 4.7 liter V8. So pretty nasty little engine there. But I'm currently playing the game of figuring out what is worth keeping to sell and what isn't worth the time. So we're gonna sort all that out and get this guy on the ground. And then we can throw the rest of it away and turn it into a pop can. And that'll be one more thing checked off the list of what we got to get rid of before winter. And we got someone keeping an eye on us. All right, so the game plan here is to drop the whole works out the bottom. Transmission, subframe, suspension, and the engine. We're gonna lower the car down, pick up the subframe and the rear of the transmission with jack stands, then essentially just lift the car off all of it. Ted and I, when we had the dealership, we had a real fancy cart built for this type of stuff. But for now, we're just gonna slum it with some jack stands. So this is the point where we are testing the tensile strength of pretty much everything, including the hoses for the power steering reservoir. I suppose I should probably undo that, fold that in. But I think everything else is looking pretty clear, and it's gonna drop pretty nicely out the bottom. That one might help. The big old battery cable. Forgot that. I think we're in pretty freaking good shape. Only 2 things. Make my struts free. Now we're free. Got everything out of the way. The wiring harness for the engine only had 2 connectors, 2 grounds, 1 power that I forgot. Transmission just had this 1 connector and then the shift linkage. Other than that, it just came out. Got a little ballast up front too, and a safety strap just to make sure this thing doesn't tilt off, being we removed a lot of weight up front, but there isn't a whole lot of weight left in general. All right, so we're just about ready to get the engine out of there. I went ahead and removed the subframe out from underneath it so we had a little more room to deal with the engine hoist. And right now we're gonna split the transmission off. This is just a normal torque converter transmission, just your typical automatic, being this is a later 5th gen Quattroporte. The earlier ones had the F1 single clutch transmission similar to the Ferrari stuff, because this is similar to the Ferrari stuff, but we're gonna get that out of the way, get that out of the way. Then we have to attempt to figure out how to get this off the hoist onto a trailer without wheels. In the back, we could put the wheels back on. I don't think they'll go back on the front though. I think I got them all out. I don't. Ah, that was my head into the car. My neck absorbed all that, so that felt great. You would not believe how much better it comes off if you unbolt everything. There we go. They really have this guy secured on there. Quite a few bolts. Kind of an interesting way of doing this though. We got like an adapter that stays on the engine versus on the transmission. Normally you got a bell housing here. That unbolts from the back of the engine. Italians. All right, engine is on the cart. We'll deal with that thing later. We're gonna do a leak down and everything, make sure it is all kosher. I really wanted to keep it. This is a Ferrari derived 4.7 liter V8. Yes, this is the big block. This is the Quattroporte S, which has the 4.7 liter instead of the 4.2. This is kind of the same engine that was in like the Ferrari F430, except it has a cross plane crank instead of the flat plane that the Ferrari has. So it is a little less cool, but it is still cool nonetheless. But I'm going through a bit of a midlife crisis right now and starting to realize I can't do everything. I don't need a ton of stuff like this laying around. Would I ever actually do anything with it? Probably not. So that'll get ready to get sold. Someone will use that for a cool project. And we have the carcass just about ready to go to the scrap yard. We have a couple more things to pull off, but that's gonna require it being off the hoist, which is our next dilemma. Like I said, we have rear suspension, but nothing up front. So my thoughts are to put a couple wheels back on the back. And now I think we'll bring the trailer in, back it underneath so the rear wheels are on the deck. Then we'll figure out something to hold the front up so we can get the hoist arms out of the way. And I guess just winch it on there. In theory, it should work. But the trailer currently has something on that, so we need to unload that. But let's go through that story first. And we are hooked up on an early morning once again. This time to grab what could be considered a little bit cooler than a very clean D1. But once again, Range Rover putting in work. Trailer hooked up, checked over, spare tire in the back. If you know, you know.
She's a bit rough shape.
For the past couple months, we haven't made it a solid week without running somewhere out of state to grab a Land Rover. But this is the first one where I'm starting to see concern. If there wasn't already a tent company by the name, we'd have to name this one Icarus, because this might be the point where I'm finally flying a little bit too close to the sun.
We do have to make one quick pit stop on the way here though. We had to secure the important part of the deal. We negotiated so tight that a case of Miller Lite was to be thrown in, but I told them we're in Busch Light country down here, so
One of those as well.
and just what a guy needs.
Well, it's been a minute since we've had a Defender on the trailer behind the 405. Well, actually 12,240 minutes to be exact. Quite the thing we picked up. For quite a while I've been joking that I have a problem. I think we might actually have a problem. And as always, everything I collect comes with extra bits, even some strapped to the trailer. But there is our newest acquisition that we just couldn't live without. We're up in Wisconsin. Let's get back to the car wash and see what the heck is going on here. See, much like our Acme crate, this top is apparently not rated to 80 miles an hour. Perfect. So we got another lovely Land Rover back at the ranch now. We'll go over what the reasoning behind grabbing this one was, albeit probably a terrible reason. I don't take much convincing if you haven't noticed. But first we're gonna get this guy off the trailer. As you can see, it's starting to rain a little bit, and I still wanna get that guy on there before the downpour comes. Steering wheel. I mean, honestly, who doesn't need another one of these laying around? Don't push on the body.
I didn't mean to.
Just don't push on the body. Just don't push on the body.
Where do I push then?
I got it. Oh, it's on the tie downs. Now go hit the winch button. Hold on. All right, go. Oh, you just want to wind it.
Don't be getting crabby.
Just wind it up.
Oh my god.
Well, just.
Yeah, I'm getting it. I'm gonna push the button in. You don't have to be such an asshole all the time. I'm gonna drive a different way home. I'm tired and crabby now. Now that's going to be your introduction. Everyone wants to know. No, I do. I'm trying to get the Maserati on and stuff. Wasn't supposed to rain till 5 o'clock, then it got pushed back to 7. I bought another one. Today?
All right, let's see how this works out and see if I can back the trailer in the shop. Well, that didn't work out half bad. We got a little bit of room. We can go back. Well, no, we can't. All right, I actually got to pull that way so we can get the arm out of the way. Or do we shoot the arm forward? I think we could shoot the arm forward. So yeah, we'll back up a little bit more. Then set it down and then go from there. I think this might work. There is one thing I'm good at in life. It's creating cluster. And here we have another fine example of that. Don't actually know what to do from here. All right, so we're gonna run into a clearance issue, so we need to move forward, and we also need to let the winch out so we can do that. You guys keep an eye on that for me. All right, so it is completely off the hoist weight-wise now. We're on the blocks and the rear wheels. But what I want to do is pull forward so we can get the two arms out of the way. That way, if this guy does anything goofy when we winch it on, it's not going to drop down onto those hoist arms and bugger anything serious up. All right, we're clear of the hoist. The Maserati's pretty much on the trailer. I mean, we could probably tow it just like that. All right, so there is a very good chance that these blocks are gonna tumble when we start winching, but there's not a whole lot of weight going on there. We'll see what happens. Here they go. That could have went worse. And now that that guy's successfully out of here, we got to do some cleaning up to do. We got a few things lined up for the hoist, so this needs to get all the spilt fluids taken care of so we don't track those everywhere. We do still have a couple things left to pull off on the Quattroporte itself, like the doors and fenders. We just couldn't do those with the hoist in the way. There is a couple interior pieces that might have some amount of value. We actually have quite a bit listed and up for sale already, and the first two things we sold paid for the entire car. And like I said, this slick little V8 we have is gonna be the real profit on that deal, you know, as long as it's good. We'll leak this down. The numbers on that is gonna determine whether or not this was a win or just a waste of time. I'm used to wasting time, so is what it is. And if you were ever curious the amount of bolts you have left over after pulling Maserati apart, it's that many. So the next thing up is to swap back over to the 18-inch wheels and take a peek at some caliper options to get those 18s to clear a bit more. But now that we're done with like the relentless towing with the Range Rover, I'd like to go back to the bigger tires, smaller wheels. This thing saw like 6,000 miles in the last few weeks. It is also due for an oil change. We keep up this pace, it's an oil change every month. My sad Moab rock rash. All right, so our first option on the rear would bolt up and work. Everything's good in that direction, but what I was trying to fix here was the height that the brake line came in at. That is our biggest clearance issue right now. We got enough area, we got enough clearance on the caliper by machining that down some, which this caliper would have helped with over the factory one. But where the line comes into the caliper sits in the same exact location, so that really doesn't gain us what we need to do. So option one is not going to make the situation better, but we don't know until we try. So I'm thinking it's gonna have to go to the entire V6 rear brake setup, which is fine. I was just seeing if we could do a caliper replacement option, which would have been nice to figure out for not just me, but everyone out there. Putting 18s on a V8 supercharged 405. Don't go down the drain. Oh. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Just the one for you. I heard
Awesome.
you, so I'm like, I'll see if the door's open.
Yep, perfect, thanks. Can you believe it? That was UPS, and stuff is just showing up. Not even fighting it anymore. Things are good. And all is right in the world. It just looks so much better on the 18. Of course, I didn't leave myself enough room. Convenient. Plenty of room now. It's starting to get awful cold out. Not my favorite time of year. So I'm not quite sure if the doors are worth saving on this thing. See, the problem with the doors are I'm in Iowa, which much like Land Rovers is not the Maserati capital of the world, and shipping that kind of stuff makes it cost prohibitive. So I guess we'll just throw them up on Facebook Marketplace, see if someone has a need for a set of 4 doors for a Quattroporte, and if not, we can scrap them at a later date. It's just much harder to unscrap them if I throw them away with the rest of the car. Once they're a pop can, they're a pop can. Or I guess would it be a soup can? Pop cans are aluminum, soup cans are steel. Now this is definitely worth saving. For some reason, a lot of people must run into stuff with their Maserati, so the fenders are worth a little bit of dough. Plus they say Pininfarina, which is kind of cool. Well, we decided not to grab one door. I don't know if you can see in there, but those are holes drilled in it. There is a boatload of filler in this vicinity, and it looks like someone ran some screws into the door to pull the dent out. We're not going to move that door onto someone else, but we did go to grab the fuel pump because those have a little bit of value. But while we were at that, look at that cool aluminum fuel tank, tagged Maserati there. I think we'll keep that too. I'm not sure what for, but I think someone can use that. That someone might be me, also might not, but that guy's just too cool to crush. In some other news, while we were in that trunk getting the fuel tank, notice this, the odd little damage to the interior trim, almost like a burn mark hole blown through. Oh, that's because it's a bullet hole. Like any cheap Maserati, I'm sure this guy has seen some things. It's also an interesting bullet hole because it looks like it should have entered from that quarter, but no damage on the inside of that quarter. And the burn mark also looks like it might have been pretty close to the muzzle. So who was locked in the trunk? But either way, we're off to throw this guy away, and look at that classy setup. I'm just throwing my Maserati away with my Range Rover. Trust me, it sounds cooler than it is. This whole setup probably costs less than a 10-year-old Silverado. I'd have to say we are quite possibly the classiest of scrapping operations. Gentleman unloading the car said it was definitely the nicest thing they've ever thrown away. Only the dumbest person I know would throw away a Maserati. The ROI is pretty good. Only cost me $1,200 to get 168 back. But in some other news, the guy's kind of a porker, 2,400 pounds with absolutely nothing left on it. More than I thought. And in case you were wondering, Land Rovers aren't the only thing that needs timing chains. Those indestructible Toyotas need it every once in a while too. And give me an LR4 any day of the week over this job. So I feel a tiny bit called out. Sent a picture to a buddy of mine and he asked me if I just search Marketplace for never been washed. Well, I guess it's a good thing we bought a derelict car wash so I can clean up my derelict Defender. Well, look at that, it's better already. No, it's really not. You may be asking yourself, why on earth would you buy this, Joe? Good news is, I'm asking myself the same question. At first look, it's kind of a turd, but at the second look, still kind of a turd. But no, really, you guys know by now, I'm kind of a sucker for what I consider half clean. And I don't mean stuff not growing on it half clean. I mean, not completely rotted out Land Rovers, especially when we're talking about ones in my neck of the woods, which is the Midwest. We were able to go get this one from Wisconsin. Only a 3-hour trip away, and like a lot of the X-Mod stuff, this one has a nice, clean chassis underneath without doors and bulkhead completely rotted away. I'd say that is a good one, and being an X-Mod, it also has that Salisbury rear end. We do have one minor issue. You can kind of see the reason why it was winched onto the trailer. And the keen eyes may be able to pick up what this guy was originally used for. Well, not originally, what the previous owner used this for. This was used as a test bed to build out a swap kit for the Defender chassis. But besides being predominantly corrosion free, That is another big reason why we grabbed this one. I'm currently on the left-hand side of the truck, and so is the steering wheel. So this is a left-hand drive titled in the US Defender. Good starting point for something. It also came with a cooler. The only thing missing on this guy is the engine and transmission. We got everything else with it, including another LT230 to add to the collection. Should be a 1.4 box, which is always good to have. But now I just need to determine what we do with this guy. It has a load of paint piled on top of what I'm guessing the original green and piled on top poorly, which could be beneficial. I don't exactly know what to do with this guy. It's probably going to sit on the side of the building for a minute because we are getting back to the other projects now that we're completely moved into the car wash. But my original thoughts were just to get something stuffed in this engine-wise, get this guy running and driving, and let someone else have a reasonably priced Defender. That is a good starting point for what I'd consider a cool cruiser. Nice little trail truck. But let me know what you guys think. What should we do with this little ugly duckling? With that being said, I appreciate you guys watching. A little bit of a sporadic video today, but we did a good job cleaning out some of the stuff we needed to before winter. We did a poor job replacing that stuff with other stuff that's going to be in the way. But that's a typical day in the life of Joe, and we will catch you on the next one, which I'm thinking won't be a really heavy video, meaning it's going to be lightweight related. I bought another one.
Today?
100 inches, you know, like a D1's supposed to be. If we had another, so let's say we're probably about 142 inches. Would that be a good guess? Say 142, and we got, call it 126, probably to about, got about 150 inches to play with. May not be enough. And we already have some more Maserati stuff to ship out.